supposed to put this? I don't have no space. Resident Evil's best trope, the rocket launcher. Whenever you've had it with whatever evil has been tormenting you this entire time, the cure you might need is a big boom boom rocket. A rocket launcher, that is. Throughout the many iterations of Resident Evil, you can almost always find a rocket launcher, being the final killing blow to whatever final boss you're fighting. Today, let's dive into some of the rocket launchers in the franchise and why it stuck out as an equally badass and goofy trope for Resident Evil. Just please don't do anything risky every time I say rocket launcher in this video. Dating back to the original game and its respective remake, both Chris and Jill's campaigns ended with taking out the fabled herald to the T-Virus, the Tyrant, with a big tank-busting rocket launcher. I like that STARS had access to a ridiculous military-grade rocket launcher. I bet Wesker planted that just for his combat data, even if his monster baby turned against him. Good on Chris for laughing at that. Then in Resident Evil 2, the rocket launcher returns to help Leon and Claire dispel the pesky Mr. X in his super tyrant form. One detail I like about the original is that Leon and Claire have one-liners right before destroying Mr. X. One-liners go a long way, man.
Game over.
You lose, big guy.
Once we get to Resident Evil 3, the tables have turned dramatically. What if a tyrant had a rocket launcher? Enter the legendary Nemesis, who's armed and ready to take names by blasting stars away with his rocket launchers. In the original, he'll just toss away his current rocket launcher whenever it's out of ammo, and return the punching Jill. Since Nemesis is the one boasting his New Game Plus rocket launcher, in the climactic final battle, the developers just had to switch it up this time. If there's one thing about tropes and traditions, it's the nature of them evolving alongside each new entry. Enter a massive rail gun, perfect for decimating mutating stalkers. We then see a return to a one-liner of Jill's classic rebuttal to defeating Nemesis once and for all.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
By the time Code Veronica and its other additions released, Resident Evil had been an established franchise. It's been a little bit since the original trilogy, so now you have an established fanbase, lore, and developers wanting to mix things up. During my original run of Code Veronica X on the PS2, I made it to the final fight with Alexia, except I hit a roadblock. Code Veronica is a different beast from other Resident Evil fixed camera games, and the item box is one of those. By the time I got to Chris, I had no idea I couldn't switch over items with Claire, so I was stuck with a pistol and shotgun to deal with the relentless mutated Alexia. Because this whole time I thought I was going to be able to have a chance like one of those before you enter the final fight. The game will let you, give the weapons to the character that has to finish the game, but alas, I was dumb and I just couldn't see into the future. I checked online and wouldn't you know, a rocket launcher was still a solution for this mutated Alexia in some way. During my feeble attempts at the boss fight, I could only stare at the charging plasma launcher behind its glass case as I got my ass kicked, but seeing footage of the thing in action online looks amazing. So, you're in an Antarctic umbrella base of pure evil in the freezing cold, Sub-Zero, created by one of the original Umbrella founders, so of course you'd find a super realistic rocket launcher. It's poetry somehow.
Here and now!
Then let's do this!
Then we get to Resident Evil 4, and it's been almost a decade since the original Resident Evil released. There's been some other random spin-offs putting their twist on series tropes, and now we have Resident Evil 4, which is technically Resident Evil 5 because of Code Veronica, but franchises never like to make naming easy. Anyway, The game's weapon of choice to finish Big Boss Sadler is an RPG with a red missile. It may be a mere palette swap, although it fits the aesthetics of the game and harkens back to Resident Evil 2 with Leon waiting on Ada to drop him the final boss weapon. This rocket launcher is notable since it culminates both the main campaign and separate ways. Because in separate ways you have to play as Ada to give him the rocket launcher from high above and all like that construction area in the final battle. Nonetheless, Sadler couldn't escape the Hollywood cliches as blown to smithereens by the sickest Resident Evil cliche imaginable. Now, Resident Evil 4 gets bonus points in terms of rocket launchers because on my second New Game Plus playthrough, I finally realized that if you buy a rocket launcher from the merchant right before you fight Salazar's right-hand man, that one Verdugo, if you freeze it and then you use your rocket launcher on it, you can actually get a really unique and special treasure from its corpse. It's even a trophy in modern ports of the original game. Go try it out for yourself. Jump forward to Resident Evil 5 and we get double the rocket launchers to take down Freaky Wesker. Although if you jump back a bit in the very same game, there's a cool orbital cannon beam thing used on the gigantic Ouroboros on the ship boss fight. In terms of the final Wesker fight, I think Wesker getting taken down by dual rocket launchers while in a volcano screaming "Chris!" while Chris tells him to suck it is a pure masterpiece. But no. Yeah, in most of these games you can purchase or unlock some form of a rocket launcher to use during your everyday gameplay, like on a New Game Plus, so to speak, and that's always a spectacle. It's like going full commando as Schwarzenegger. I always find the climactic use of these big boom booms to be a real highlight in most of these games.
Chris, Sheva! Use those! Locked and loaded.
Suck on this, Wesker.
Your time's up, you son of a bitch.
This takes me to Resident Evil 6, where with 4 campaigns you're bound to find different ways to defeat these wicked villains that don't involve a rocket launcher. For Derek Simmons, however, he got the rocket launcher special. During Ada's campaign, she leaves a classic RPG with a lipstick kiss on the missile just for Leon, and so he uses a love rocket to blast away Simmons in his final form, and send him barreling down to one of the greatest villain deaths I've ever seen next to Wesker's himself. Simmons devolves back to his human form and is impaled on a gigantic umbrella statue, where his blood trickles down and fills in the red canopy parts of that classic umbrella color scheme. Part spectacle, part homage, all concluding. We're not done yet, however. Let's wrap up with the 2 Revelations games. Although I do want to step back and highlight that the way the Queen Leech is defeated with a magnum in Resident Evil 0 is partly referenced with Usanak's final death in Resident Evil 6, since they both get taken out by a magnum and fall into a gigantic corridor full of fire. Alright, Revelations 1 has Jill use a rocket launcher given to her by BSAA pilot Kirk to defeat the gigantic Malakota by sending a rocket right down its throat. It reminds me a bit of the way Godzilla defeats Orga in Godzilla 2000 just by the Malakota's design looking a bit similar to Orga's face. Even though the Malakota was the penultimate boss of this game, I'm still glad that this classic tradition made it in some way.
Know how to treat a girl, Kirk.
Aim for its mouth.
Now we've made it to the finale. Revelations 2 is a game that finally lets Claire use the rocket for the first time in a billion years, where she provides air cover for good old Barry during the final fight with Alex Wesker. What I enjoy about this finale is how it actually lets you switch playable characters during the fight, even if it's a bit scripted, as it truly makes the game's story feel like it's culminating to a great finale. Barry has to run around and hold off Wesker, while Claire uses a sniper to damage her. Then once you get far enough, it's time to finish off the Wesker bloodline and Umbrella's bratty freaks of nature with a classic rocket. If there's one thing viruses seem to be weak to, it's not just antibiotics or cures, it's goddamn explosions. So, that's practically all the major uses of this favorite trope of mine I can recall at the moment. For a series about horror, it's also one that understands why action and horror are not mutually exclusive, but rather just genres that can elevate each other. For all these games start off a bit slow to get you used to the vibe and controls, then by the time the finale rolls around, it's time for you to stop running and start kicking evil's ass. Rockets are violent, although they're great when evil gets to be too much and you got a one-liner to get off your chest. I've been Mr. Tiger Drop Films, or Mr. TDF, and thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Resident Evil tropes are, and be sure to share this video with your fellow evil residents. Until next time, peace.